On a late summer's day, in a park in Leiden, I met with a group of strangers to go on a walk. A walk in the park. Will you come along? This was not an ordinary walk. First, we plugged in our headphones and stowed away our devices. On our way, we looked around carefully. We walked over bridges, past century-old trees and young couples on the green grass. And while we listened to the music, we witnessed the birth of stars. A friendly voice told us about the invention of nature. And with birds flying around us, we were there when the dinosaurs became extinct and mammals discovered fire. And then, when the music reached its crescendo, towards the end of our walk, we met a child from the future. She told us where our actions today had taken us, and she asked us to promise her, to think about her, and maybe act for her. This walk is part of an art project called Time to Turn, which we've developed because we believe that art can be a means for a better future. I should rephrase, because we know that art is a means for a better future. A better future for our communities, for our organizations, and above all, for ourselves. For instance, did you know that singing can help you deal with lung-related illnesses? People that read books may be more likely to recycle. Your brain can learn more when you engage in the arts, and you may be more likely to vote as well. From solving housing issues to improving our well-being, from climate action to peace building, art is an invaluable asset to involve people, generate new solutions, and soothe our anxieties. I like to say that art is so powerful that I understand why our governments put it in fancy buildings and charge people an arm and a leg to see it. Yet the art in theaters and museums and libraries is only part of the story. Secluded from society, it is often reduced to entertainment. Beautiful but distant, engaging but static, attention-grabbing but rarely life-changing. Which is why you may turn to that one song when you're feeling blue. Yet when it comes to thinking about what we can do about climate change, we rarely visit a concert hall. So, my colleagues and I, we had this idea. Most of us by now know that we need to take serious action for a better future. But we don't. Or at least, not all of us, not enough. Many of us may feel powerless, or we don't know where to start. What if we could create experiences that get us moving? Experiences that do not merely raise awareness, but empower us. Experiences that create urgency, enthusiasm, and, ultimately, actions. What if we take everything that we know about art and culture, and we use that to get more people involved in the world's biggest problems? To answer this question, we brought together a couple of art projects in the city of Leiden. The walk I spoke about earlier was one of them. Together with a composer, we created a musical and poetic story, much like a podcast that you listen to while moving through a cityscape. You're taking on a journey from the beginning of time all the way into the future, where you meet a child living 100 years from now. She asks you to make her a promise that will last beyond your lifespan. A promise about something that you will do or stop doing. And you know what? It works! At least half of the participants changed their frame of mind from feeling powerless and insignificant in the face of climate change and mass extinction and global inequality to feeling empowered and energized to act and make a difference. We've walked the walk with thousands of people, and many of them returned transformed. I did the walk with city administrators one day, who afterwards asked me if they could get in touch with that child from the future, to invite her as an advisor. That is what art can do. We use this playbook and approach different topics for other projects as well. Diversity, equity and inclusion, education for all, and of course the climate crisis. The climate is a perfect topic for the arts. The climate is like classical music. You know it is at the basis of everything, but very few of us actually understand it thoroughly, and fewer still know how to play it. So, while we let the experts argue about the global rhythm and tone of the climate crisis, we worked with the Climate Museum to invite children to see how it plays out in their lives, locally, in their gardens where different plants blossom and bees fall silent, and in their schools where it is now too hot to learn. Through a playful method, we gathered hundreds of solutions from the children and then challenged local artists to build prototypes. These were auctioned off to local organizations that are now installing them throughout the city. The project generated new and creative ideas to combat the climate change. More importantly, it showed hundreds of kids that they have agency over their future, and it showed local organizations that ordinary people can affect change on difficult topics. This and many other art projects have shown us that art allows us to do extraordinary things. It makes us see the world anew, appreciate the unexpected. It creates space for ideas and time to think where earlier there was none. It invites experiment, conversation, connection. Art gives us, ordinary people, power over the world. And as I mentioned before, you do not have to pay for a front row seat at your local orchestra to appreciate its power. It is there for anyone to use. You can try for yourself the next time you're meeting someone to answer a question or face a challenge. Before you start, simply ask the other person to talk about a cultural experience they enjoyed recently. A book, a painting, a song. Then, talk about how each of these experiences changed your perspectives. If it is music, listen to it together on your favorite streaming platform. If it is visual arts, do an image search to appreciate it together. Then, approach your meeting with these new perspectives in mind. How would you answer the question at hand from this perspective? What does your new point of view tell you about the challenge you're facing? It doesn't matter if you do it clumsily. Uncertainty and failing are part of this process. Let's go back to our summer's day in Leiden. Back to the walk we started with. I also made a promise to that child from the future we met that day. I told her that I know about the incredible challenges the world and our communities are facing. I have seen how art empowers people to make a change for the better. And I also know that we all have the agency to make this happen. We do not have to wait for anyone. We do not have to ask for permission. We can do this today. My promise is that I will use and continue to use the power of the arts and culture for a better future, and that I will empower others to do the same. Will you join me?